at the basket we are taking our eggs from. That is my takeaway. All right, moving on is our panel discussion, which is really on rebranding and rebuilding the African way, and it's really spoken. So I'm going to invite my panelists onto the stage before I welcome the moderator for this particular panel discussion. So when I call upon the name, kindly come and take a seat up here for me. First on my list is Honorable Olakunle Sorian, aka PK. Please a round of applause as he takes his seat over here. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. We have Barrister Eno Samson, the founder of Rebrand Niger Delta. Thank you so much, Mom. Please have a seat. We also have, I call him my Honorable Farouk Kailan. He is the CEO for Premium Africa Holdings. Thank you so much for being here. I also have Alhaji Rashid, if he's here. Please join upstage for me. Thank you so much. Okay, for the moderator for this particular session, we've got Mr. Nathan Isaac. Reverend, please come up, please. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mom. Please have a seat. We also have, I call him my Honorable Farouk Kailan. He is the CEO for Premium Africa Holdings. Thank you so much for being here. I also have Alhaji Rashid, if he's here. Please join upstage for me. Thank you so much. Okay, for the moderator for this particular session, we've got Mr. Nathan Isaac. Wherever you are, please come up, please. Thank you.
Clap for the people on stage. Let's put our hands together for Africa. All right, I'm so glad to be here today, and I believe this session is one of those that will stick, because we are here for the new Africa, and a lot about the new Africa has to do with rebuilding and rebranding Africa. I want to welcome again our veteran. He just spoke right now, and then he's off again, and then Dr. Elu, you're welcome. Dr. Kida, you're welcome. Haji Rashid, you're welcome. So we're going to go straight to it, okay? We have just brief time to do this. Rebranding Africa. When we're talking about rebranding, rebuilding, the prefix RE has a lot to do with taking something back to its original state, or trying to make something better than it was. So when we're talking about rebuilding, rebranding, so it means that there's a precedence, that we should be looking at. So we're going to be talking about what has been that we can make better. Do you understand? Or what is that, or what has been that we can make better, or what currently is that we can tweak, to achieve some level of improvement. So I'm glad that we have very, very bright minds to help us, open this up. We're talking about repaint, restructure, all the words that have the RE prefix will come into this. So as I put my questions out, I'd like for every one of us as much as possible to try to say something about it so that the audience can benefit from our wealth of knowledge and everything that we have to discuss. Okay, so the first question I'm going to be asking is, what are the things you think Africa has or had that needs to be restored or improved? What are the things you think that Africa has or had, that needs to be restored or improved? You can take the floor. Anybody? No particular order. Yes, it's all right.
Okay. Let me not go back in time. So let me go into the future.
Okay.
What do Africa have that I think should be restored? Is that a question?
Yes.
Okay. Human capital. We have, if you look at China today, what do they have? Human capital. We have the people. We do have the resources. That's a different topic entirely. We're not going to go into resources, but we have the minds, we have the hands, we have the people. What are we talking about here today? Rebranding. I said yesterday at a press conference, I said, for a man to be elevated, his mind must first be renewed. His mind must first be elevated. By the same vein, for a man to be in prison, you must first imprison his mind. If you imprison his mind, you don't need to put him in a cage. He's imprisoned anyway. So, for me, rebranding of Africa is rebranding the minds. Now, in 2019, we came up with a program called Rebranding, where I had to work with a few Nigerians, some people in my team, some of them are here today. We came up with a program called Rebranding. It's a television program where it was in Nigeria. And that idea came where we wrote a few scripts about the social ills in Nigeria, for instance. I'll take one, the bunkering situation in the Niger Delta and the busting of pipes. Now people will look at that and say, oh, they're hungry. People are busting pipes because people are hungry. But that's not the issue, And so we looked deep into what is really creating this problem in the Niger Delta. And for me, it's the mind. So what did we do? We created a classroom of Nigerians from different states. Not just the Niger Delta, because where does the oil from the Niger Delta go? Across the country. So we put different people, Yoruba man on tape, in the class, we put them on Tribal man, just diverse people in the classroom. And we started to have this conversation about what's the problem in Nigeria. It was the program was hilarious, really. It was kind of comical. We didn't want it to be apolitical because we know what it's like when you speak too much truth. You get into trouble. So we decided that we're going to have something apolitical and discuss the issues that was really facing us as a people. And we realized that if people began to understand what the real issues are, as PK just described, we will move away from what we think the problem is and begin to create. We are creative beings, as you say. I'm a Christian. When God came into the world, there was darkness. He didn't look at the darkness. He said, let it be light, right? And he started to create. So if we have the same power to create as human beings, it means we have, when we look at the Western world, look at the creativity, innovation, technology. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the mind. For it to exist physically, it has to first exist in the mind. So for Africa, we have the people, we have the mind. You'll be very shocked the kind of innovation coming out of Africa that nobody talks about. I spoke to a lady 2 weeks ago, and this lady, I'm not going to mention names, is somebody big, has the office, has the title, work, has no visibility. What she's doing is not known. What she's doing is not known. So I said to her, I said, man, you've got the office, you've got the title, but you have no visibility. And I can give you that visibility. Now if I begin to show, and I begin to tell the world what she's done, and I begin to somebody out there will say, oh, this is interesting, how do we do this? So as I speak, we're already talking about rebranding communities.
So we have the people, we have the
human capital, and we can do more by just starting from somewhere and building, starting from somewhere and building.
Wonderful. Well, I think we should celebrate that. I think we should celebrate that. So one of the things we have the people, and we have that being established. I think that being established, I think already, we talk about branding, we have seals to me, branding activities, it has to do with changing of perception. So we need to get to that we can now perception so that we want to speak about the activities that we need to put out there, that we need to she has talked about my senior brother. I don't even want to say senior brother.
I'm very careful about how we use modern words to describe our own music. And then how we tell like how we use the arrival of the new word to describe is the arrival and how we experience like the arrival. A lot of times what we call new is very relative. Arrival usually is old happening to new people. And when a lot of times it happens to new is very relative. When people in their own situation like to colonize new and when force their own new generation to assume that they own like to right. So that is why we go to school, right? And somebody says that this is life coaching, that they own that right? So that is why we go to school. And somebody says that this is life coaching. And if you are not certified as a life coach, you can't understand the issues that define that experience, right? Now, the first word that who certified you, it wasn't coaching when right? Now, the new word for what you understand is not coaching. But it wasn't coaching when the first person created it, right? And began to share that with the world, right? So, that is, I'm taking the courage to bring ideas back to the agenda. And that is how we have the chance for discussion, right? So, if you look at it, Africa as a whole, have a very tragic experience. The idea of the classroom itself, right? Classroom is not Africa. We don't go to practice, right? We learn training is that observation and apprenticeship. Part of our tragedy is that the white man came, took our education, and gave us the curriculum. And we've been struggling since then, trying to fit into the curriculum of the classroom. Please let's be clear. I'm not against the white man. I'm against the activities of the white man of over 100 years ago. But the white man of today is thinking differently, and I celebrate that partnership.
That's true.
Right? But I understand that we have to begin to question how we learn. She spoke so boldly about human capital. But this human capital is a good word for human beings, right? And the way they think, the way they make assumptions, the way they judge, the way they interpret, and the way they take decisions. That is education. That education does not require a master's degree or a PhD. That's why we now know, beyond reasonable doubt, that first in class is not necessarily first in life. And we've seen people who fail the test of the classroom, but pass the test of society, right? And were able to build options in a way that attracted purchasing power from all over the world and rewarded when they brought to the world in Silicon Valley or wherever it was that they domiciled. Okay? So I'm thinking that we need the branding that we need, and branding again is beyond perception. Because you can have the right perception. If you go to North Korea, everything looks like everything is fine. But they are suffering big time. If you go to the airport, everything looks like it's all right? So you want to go beyond perception and think about the authentic experiences you are creating. That is the highest and sustainable branding experience you can give to anything. It has to be authentic. It has to be true. You see what I'm saying? And that comes back to who we are. to how we learn, to how we grow, to how we understand, to how we interpret. And my suggestion is very simple, that we question the oppression of the lingua franca that we have accepted across Africa. And I'm going to need another extra 5 minutes to articulate it, and I will appeal to my other panelists to please give me a chance to do this. So, English are the most dominant languages, lingua francas in Africa, right? Except that there are Frenchmen already involved, and there are Englishmen already involved, who did not need to master this language to be who they are, is who they are. I am from Rebranding in Ogun State. I am supposed to be an error if I cannot speak that I'm supposed to be in quote local or exposed. If I cannot speak Ijebu very well. Because that's what is given for me naturally. Right? But today, if I speak that language very well, very well, but I can't speak English well, I can't marry the wife of my dreams. If I say to my girlfriend, I'm going to church, that is the end of that relationship. If I go to her daddy's house on Sunday morning to pick her to church, and she says, Daddy says, where are you guys going? So, we're going to church. That, to gift me with that moment, you not say anything. What is that? You've not found your husband. Except the father is also a church. There is a sympathetic resonance that come together to allow me. But if in this room now, I tell everybody, I'm welcome from United States, I'm go to Lagos, you know. People say, who is this black one? Who brought it to me here? That does not say anything about the quality of my thinking.
Yes.
It doesn't say anything about the strength of my character. It's just the container that is attempting to represent my content. And I'm being judged for a weak container that is essentially not my mother tongue. It's not what I know, right? And so, if you expand that, and you think of all the first world countries, the most prosperous countries, they don't have multiple languages. They speak their language, the forest. Sure. When you look at it, why is that possible? Apart from the fact that the subjects of development are mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Every other subject is trying to manage what they make, because those four subjects make everything. They make this microphone, they make this computer, they make anything in the world. Physics, chemistry, biology, and maths. Every other subject is trying to sell it, distribute it, brand it, share it in the world, protect it, but what it makes is those four subjects. The Chinese learn those subjects in this critical. The Frenchman do the same. The German the same. The Englishman do the same. In my own country and in Ghana, on television yesterday, I saw a station that is devoted to teaching English language. All I saw in that station for hours is me, where, look. And I'm saying, what is this nonsense going on here? Part of this is that English language is now a determinant of progress for a people who are not Englishmen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, if you come to soccer, the most successful soccer coaches in the world, from Jose Mourinho to soccer fans here, think about it. People somehow have found how to grow. The Chinese man speaks worse grammar than the Gary seller in Benin. Worse grammar, but he has made his own shoes, he has built his own plane, he has built his own cars, he has built his own phones. Despite the fact that he speaks Mandarin, right? Pidgin English is not an embarrassment. It's the proof of a people's struggle with an original language. So nobody should be judged. Everybody speaks Pidgin. There's Pidgin French, Pidgin English, Pidgin Igbo, Pidgin Yoruba. In fact, most of the languages we speak in Africa are Pidgin compared to the original one that our fathers spoke. Yeah. Right? So my challenge is it possible? It's too late. So okay, let me give this scenario. So a young boy failed the West African examination, school certification exam, I would say that across West Africa. And I saw him, he came to my house, I was home in Nigeria, he came to raise money to buy a new engine for his taxi car. But I knew him when he was young. I said, you were very brilliant in school. Why are you driving taxis? Why are you a cab driver? He said, well, you know, first of all, I finished with 3 credits. I couldn't go to university. Did not need to master this language to be who they are. It's who they are. I am from Rebranding in Ogun State. I am supposed to be an error if I cannot speak that dialect. I'm supposed to be, in quote, local or exposed. If I cannot speak Ijebu very well. So that's what is given for me naturally, right? But today, if I speak that language very well, very, very well, but I can't speak English well, I can't marry the wife of my dreams. If I say to my girlfriend, I'm going to church, that is the end of that relationship. If I go to her daddy's house on Sunday morning to pick her to church, and she says, the daddy says, where are you guys going? So, we're going to church. That to gift me with that moment, you not say anything. But the mom is not at the table. You've not found your husband. Except the father is also a church. There is a sympathetic resonance that can come together to allow me. But if in this room now, I tell everybody, I'm welcome from United States, I'm go to Lagos, you know. People will say, who is this black from? Who brought this thing here? That does not say anything about the quality of my thinking.
Yes.
It doesn't say anything about the strength of my character. It's just the container that is attempting to represent my content. And I'm being judged for a weak container that is essentially not my mother tongue. It's not what I know, right? And so, if you expand that, and you think of all the first world countries, the most prosperous countries, they don't have multiple languages. They speak their language, just one. The countries with a lot of languages are the poorest. When you look at it, why is that possible? Apart from the fact that the subjects of development are mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. Every other subject is trying to manage what they make, because those four subjects make everything. They make this microphone, they make this computer, they make anything in the world. Physics, chemistry, biology, and maths. Every other subject is trying to sell it, distribute it, brand it, share it in the world, protect it. But what makes is those four subjects. The Chinese let those subjects in this native language. The Frenchman did the same. The German did the same. The Englishman did the same. In my own country and in Ghana, on television yesterday, I saw a station that is devoted to teaching English language. All I saw in that station for hours is me, where, look. And I'm saying, what is this nonsense going on here? Part of this is that English language is now a determinant of progress for a people who are not Englishmen. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. Now, if you come to soccer, the most successful soccer coaches in the world don't speak good English. From Jose Mourinho to soccer fans here. Think about it. People somehow have found how to grow. The Chinese man speaks worse grammar than the Gary seller in Benin. Very true. Worse grammar. But he has made his own shoes, he has built his own plane, he has built his own cars, he has built his own phones, despite the fact that he speaks Mandarin. Right? Pidgin English is not an embarrassment. It's the proof of a people's struggle with an original language. So nobody should be judged. Everybody speaks Pidgin. There's Pidgin French, Pidgin English, Pidgin Igbo, Pidgin Yoruba. In fact, most of the languages we speak in Africa are Pidgin compared to the original one that our fathers spoke. Yeah. Right? So my challenge is it possible? It's too late to. Okay, let me give this scenario. So a young boy failed the West African examination, school certification exam that was across West Africa. And I saw him, he came to my house, I was home in Nigeria, and he came to raise money to buy a new engine for his taxi car. But I knew him when he was young. I said, you were very brilliant in school. Why are you driving taxis? Why are you a cab driver? He said, well, you know, first of all, I finished with 3 credits. I couldn't go to university, but most importantly was, I wanted to study law, I couldn't pass English. I said, oh, really interesting. So what subject did you pass? He said, I passed commerce, economics, and government, but I failed English. I said, really? Please, I don't understand. Which language did you use to pass economics, government, and commerce? Which language did you use? Is it English language? You say yes. Oh, so you could use English language enough to pass 3 other subjects, but the English language itself you couldn't pass. It means that when the examiner is testing this guy, it's not marking the use of English. Because if it is marking the use of English, our boy will use English enough to pass the other subjects. It means the examiner is testing the technicality of English. Meaning that no matter how well you can speak, no matter how well you can communicate, if you you can't tell the difference between a clause and a phrase, between an adjective and a noun, you are able to pass this exam. Which brings the other question. So what is the goal of Lingua Franca? Is it communication or sophistication? Because if it is communication, if I say, I'm go tomorrow, you get what I mean? Yeah. Everybody gets it. That should be the goal. And I should be able to use that to advance and to train and to do business. Am I correct? Yes. Which is what the Chinese man does when it comes to Lagos, when it comes to Accra. He says, me come, tomorrow go, and everybody gets it. That is what the Chinese man does. I come, go, and everybody gets it. Right? But when an African says, me come, go, we say, he's ras. He's not sophisticated. He's useless. He cannot marry me. He's a foolish man. Yet, if a Frenchman comes tomorrow who has the money and says, I'm go, you will marry him with joy. It will not bother you one minute that you cannot speak good English at all. It's a tragedy how we disrespect ourselves. It's a tragedy how we define our realities and how we grow. And for me, I accept as well. 50 years, 60 years is too long to come and say we should not speak English again. We should not speak French anymore in Africa. But we can reduce its power. And to do that is to say that how can we legislate that English language is probably compulsory for everyone to speak a form of it so that we can communicate. But it will not be a determinant of progress. It means we will not reject somebody from getting a job because he cannot speak English. It means we have to graduate from how we test a good employee on the recruitment table, from how he can speak to the problems he can solve. So we are not judging his history by how he has learned another man's language, but how he can think and how he can solve complex problems and keep complexity in his head. Now those things are possible. I have published a material that articulates all the 5, 6, 7 things we can do in every African country to begin to reduce the weight of this Lingua Franca. This is the thing. This is the thing. Even if there's no rigging in the elections anymore, nobody's rigging anything. The Africans will still choose the wrong leader. Because the intelligence to do so and the journey to that intelligence are all documented in French, in English, and so even when you go to churches, the churches that speak English, that understand English, that teach in English, are the ones that can read the best materials in the world. So you find the Christians say, oh, I believe in this speaker, Miles Morrow, or this. Well, he didn't write anything in Igbo. He didn't write anything in Yoruba. He didn't write anything in Isha or in Ashanti or whatever the language he has, right? But he didn't document anything there. So their best thoughts are documented away from our own history. And so another type of courage must come to say, how can we navigate the future such that we can test the quality of thinking of the average African without the oppression of having to qualify another man's language. It is when we have the boldness to begin to have that conversation, challenge our academic institutions to begin to raise their powers beyond the limits of English grammar. I have professors who come out today to insist that we have to speak English. Our courtrooms are managed by another man's language. Our businesses are defined by another man's language. So how are we going to grow as a people if we embrace everything but the peculiarities that define our authenticity? I think that that's where we need to begin, such that if they are talking about per capita income and GDP and jobs in an election campaign, every African can understand. Every African can interpret that. Every African can take a position in that. Now what is worse is you have forced me to speak English language, but you have not made it available to me. I didn't insist on speaking it. I didn't ask for it. You foisted it on me, and I have to qualify to learn it again. This is not my fault. If anybody is embarrassed, it's the embarrassment of nature. Now you are forcing me to pay, to struggle to learn it, and you are not just forcing me to learn it. If I don't learn it, I'm not going to progress in my own country. I think that the chance of the balance of power we seek in the world will come not just from adjusting policies, but when we have enough character to begin to respect our endowments, our natural existential endowments, and giving the vast majority of our people a chance to be in the conversation. And that will mean lowering the bar of that English language by, in the least, making it available to every African. So we can say that you can't get the driver's license, for example, if you don't go to a French class, if it's French in your country, or it's English. The goal of putting you in that classroom is to help you to be able to understand the conversation. But also we can now say that you have to study a particular, maybe in Nigeria, for example, the dominant languages are Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa. That can be a compulsory course for everyone. Maybe not part of their grading in classroom, but an experience they must have so that every Nigerian or every Ghanaian can speak a form of English, but most importantly understand his own dialect. And when we have conversations publicly, like we do in America, people don't know that in America, you don't need to study English at all. If you speak, if you are Latino and you speak Spanish, you are fine. You can rise to anywhere in the United States without the limits of English language because they've respected the context that we define how they grow as a people. That is the type of constitution that we support this human capital thing, because really the greatest asset in Africa is not our gold, it's not our uranium, it's not our natural resources, but the people who breathe and live in the geography we call Africa.
Thank you so much, PK. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, just to throw a little light on what he said. Now, I hope you were taking notes, all right? Because there are African leaders here who are going to go out there and begin to execute a lot of things. PK mentioned earlier that we are the ones he wants to work with, okay? So she's mentioned human capital as one of the things we have, and he's talked about education, and not just education, he has talked about language. So we have our education, which is the apprenticeship model and learning by observation. And then we have our language. By the way, the word education is from the Latin word educare or educare, however it's pronounced, which means to bring out what is on the inside. So whatsoever education you are having that is not helping you bring out what is on the inside, like he was rightly telling us, you're not educated. You know, so I don't know, yes, Alaji Rashid.
All right, thank you very much. We are talking of rebuilding and rebranding in Africa. I think we've started that even right inside this room. I think the organizers of this program are giving us this platform to talk about rebuilding and rebranding Africa. So it is on this note that I will want some of us to give a standing ovation to the organizers of this program. Because thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Thank you very much to the organizers. Oftentimes we don't know that it takes someone to dream or plan this program. Yes, it comes to pass. Not in Nigeria, not in Kenya, not in the United States, but in Ghana. You flew in from the United States, other from China, from different parts of the country, because you believe in Africa. You sacrifice to be here. We all sacrifice to be here because we believe in Africa. In my view, I think we've started the rebuilding process. In my view, I think we've started the rebranding process. In my view, I think whatever discussion we have here in this hall should go beyond just this hall. Because oftentimes in Africa, we can talk, we have a lot of laws, you know, we can formulate policies, but how do we implement it? Implementation has always been a problem. So, before I go into one or two things I'm about to say, may I call on the organizers of this program to please ensure that the conversation goes beyond here. I'm sure you know what to do about that. Now, I'm a journalist. For those who come from Nigeria and those who watch television very well, my name is Rashid Olariwaju. I work with Africa Independent Television until a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, I was appointed by one of the state governors in Nigeria as Special Assistant Media and Publicity. So I took my proposal. Now, what are we talking here? We are talking of rebranding of Africa, rebuilding of Africa. That is not the job of the presidents to do. It's not the job of the ministers to do. It's not the job of the governors, neither the parliaments alone to do. It is the job of you and I and everybody here. What do we say about Africa? Do we even believe in Africa? Do we even want to live in Africa? Do we even want to invest in Africa? like my brother said earlier, if you heard that someone come from the United States now, even with just portfolio handbag, the African investors, the government in Africa, is ready to patronize and deal with the person. If you that you live in Africa, you have a whole lot of ideas. You talk about 3 things which I will take back home: innovation, entrepreneurship, and non-profit. So even if you have all it takes to do that, how many Africans, even you that you are sitting inside this hall, can support such person with that innovative ideas, with the entrepreneurship skills, and even with the third one, the non-profit? So this is what we should change in our mindset. Madam has spoken about human capital development. Only has spoken largely still on that and added education to it. But may I here join with government policies and its formulation? Those are the problems we are facing in Africa. You have very brilliant ideas, you have fine proposals, you have good innovations, but you need the right climate and atmosphere, political will to ensure that some of these ideas come to pass. And when you get there, what do you see? What do you have? These are the issues we have in Africa. Africa of yesterday wasn't like that. When Kule was speaking earlier in his keynote address, he talked about pre-independence days. The likes of Nkrumah, the Awolowo of this world, Nyerere of this world, and the likes. They are young Africans from different countries but believe in Africa, navigate themselves, come together, and fought the colonialists in their own way. Those efforts gave us what we are enjoying today, you and I. But thereafter, what do we see? We see the economy of bad leaders who thought that leadership in Africa is in their family, and who thought that no one else as citizen of Africa can have access to leadership. I think this is the discussion we should be talking. There's no how we will be talking without talking about government policies. Government policies affect you and I. It is not enough to have good innovation, or you are an innovator. It is not enough, that you are an entrepreneur. It is not enough that you are an NGO person. You still need government one way or the other, and you need their policy, to solve some of these problems and to unlock some of these opportunities. So as we are leaving this place, let us know that government policy and policy somersaults in some instances are part of the problem we are facing in Africa. Let us know that government and its policies is either making Africa retrogressing or keeping us where we are. That doesn't mean that we don't have few countries who are doing well in Africa. We have Rwanda, for example. Rwanda is going well, it's doing well. It's doing well because of good innovations, good ideas, good collaborations, and all-encompassing leadership, especially with respect to women emancipation. So these are some of the things that because I know that some of us are even working in government in this one. Some of us have friends, some of us have families who are in government. These are the issues that we need to be drawing into their heads. Now we are talking of rebranding here. I come from Nigeria. By my name, for those who come from Nigeria, know where I come from. I'm a Yoruba in Nigeria. But I've been working in the Niger Delta now almost 20 years. I lived and worked in Canada. As a matter of fact, that rebranding and rebuilding Africa started in Cross River State. What am I saying? If a governor in the Niger Delta region can find a Yoruba man from Ilorin to be his special assistant on media and publicity, you know how sensitive that office is. And then trust me because of competence and capacity, not because of my religion. I'm a Muslim by the way. Not because of my religion, not because of my tribe, not because of my ethnicity. And find me worthy to entrust me with such position. I think rebranding has started that. I mean, from that state, from Nigeria. In Cross River, let me go you small with what Cross River stands for. Cross River stands for the rebranding of not just Nigeria or West Africa, but it stands for rebranding of Africa. And I will ask you to do something for me now. For those who know Nigeria, for those who know Niger Delta very well, that is the economy wire of Nigeria. That is where the money of Nigeria, as such today, because there are money everywhere, but as such today, that is where the economy of the country grows. But outside the oil money that is famously known, there is what we call tourism money in Nigeria. And that is what Cross River stands for. We started rebranding Cross River to the world some years back. And today, Calabar Carnival. Please, if you have internet on your phone, Google Calabar Carnival. It is an annual event. And the last count, we've received over 20 different countries from Africa and beyond Africa into a state in the Niger Delta, into a state in the southern part of Nigeria. What are they coming to do? They came to see what is happening in Cross River. They came to see what is happening in Nigeria. Because all the time, what we hear about Nigeria outside Nigeria is very disheartening. Every December, there is 32 days non-stop fun while still doing business in Cross River. Every December, there is Calabar Carnival, a whole day dedicated to dancing and showcasing of culture and heritage, showcasing of skills, while still doing business on the sideline. So it is the second single largest carnival on the continent of the world. On the continent of Africa, I want to say, but even in the world. Aside Brazil, I think Calabar Carnival is the second. You can try. So we started rebranding Africa from Cross River, from Nigeria, bringing different people to come and see what Africa stands for, bringing people to come and see what the culture and heritage of Nigeria stand for, bringing people to come and see how the slave trade started in Africa, how the slave trade started in Nigeria. So this is what we are doing. And my last contribution at this time is that my media colleagues who are in this hall, we are not helping matters too. Oftentimes we report negative things about Africa more than the good things we are doing in Africa.
Yeah, that's true.
And this has been a challenge. And what is more, the Western media, we feed on the local media news contents they have and escalate it when it goes to global stage. And that is what the world consumes about Africa. Africa is not seen about as a potential country that has opportunity. Africa is seen as a corrupt continent. Africa is seen as a corrupt continent and not a continent that has honor and opportunities where everybody can come. So, my colleagues here, please always say that Africa is our home. Whatever, in that small corner that you are reporting, writing, and even making comments on radio and TV, it goes beyond you and even your state or country. It goes to the global stage. And whatever you write, whatever you report.
And I believe we are taking copious notes because the people who are going to do this are seated right in this room. And I believe people are having ideas for projects here and there. I'm going to go over it again. We talk about human capital. We have human capital. We have our education. All right, our education, the way we learn normally. Okay, we have our language. Do you understand? The thing about language, from what he said, is I think the process of trying to adopt another language is already a disturbance or a disruption to our intelligence process. You understand? Yes. So we need to get back to things like that. I want to appreciate everyone who has spoken so far. And right now, let's hear from Mr. Farouk.
Thank you very much. It's quite an honor to be here today. For me, I think my 2 cents to this conversation is it starts with self-awareness.
Okay.
Once you embrace yourself, like I said, once you have a big opinion of yourself, it dictates the pace, it dictates the conversation, it dictates what sort of negotiation you come up with. So, as an African, as a Ghanaian, I made it an assignment upon myself to enjoy Africa. I mean, I've been to 15 African countries and still counting. I just got back from East Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, because I don't understand why I'm in Africa and haven't taken it upon myself to understand what is going on in other jurisdictions. East Africa is a 380 million economic bloc, and any serious entrepreneur with a big appetite to expand would do well to go to this territory and understand what is there. I got to Kenya, and Kenya is a big economy, but you'll be surprised some of the concepts that are in Ghana are not even in Kenya. Why would you carry yourself, go to Kenya, replicate these concepts there, and you have a private enterprise? So for me, even as much as I spend a lot of time in Dubai, I'm about Africa. I don't compromise when it comes to pushing the African narrative. I make it a point to push the positive side of Africa. If you tell me about corruption in Africa, I tell you there's corruption in America. If you tell me Africa is not safe, I say, look, are you monitoring the news? There's several shootings in America than Africa.
Sure, yeah.
You don't get it. You cannot compare Africa's case to what is happening in the West. We have the biggest youth population. We have the biggest penetration when it comes to mobile. We have a lot of the boxes that are ticked in terms of where businesses should thrive. In recent times, we realized that every tech giant is setting up an office in Africa. That is free feasibility for you. You don't have to do any work of understanding where Africa's economic strength lies. These are giants who go to jurisdictions based on research, based on numbers, based on the economies of scale. So if Facebook has set up an African office, it tells me something. If Twitter has an African office, it tells me something. Google is already here. So we are on a continent that is so powerful, but it's based on our understanding and appreciating what we are. So when it comes to having a big opinion of ourselves, we know that yes, we have the biggest youth population. We might not have it all together when it comes to economic stability, but it's fine. It will take us as a people to be able to solve these problems. So when PK was speaking, I realized that yes, we need to disrupt. We need to, and when you look at the way the world is going today, AI is thriving now, and we as Africans need to embrace AI even better because it breaks down all the barriers of building an economy. Today, young people can learn faster, they can code faster, they can collaborate even better. Technology is here. I sit behind a computer, I'm having a board meeting with people from Kenya, people from other countries. So we need to, this is our time. This is our time. We don't want to miss out on this opportunity. We should collaborate more. I don't understand why there are entrepreneurs in Ghana who I can potentially say have outgrown the space. Why are you not in Nigeria? If you are not comfortable or you are a bit scared, why don't you identify another successful entrepreneur in Nigeria which will give you some comfort when you go into that jurisdiction, you'll be able to excel. So amongst ourselves, like I keep saying everywhere, and it's been overly emphasized today in this room about intentionality. Once you are intentional, once you build strategy, you see progress. What we've done as a team between a few friends of mine who are regional bankers, former regional bankers, we've set up Collab Advisory Incorporated, where we're building a pool of successful entrepreneurs across Africa and say, hey, you've been very successful in Kenya here. You've done well. We think you are almost outgrowing this space. You've also been successful in Ghana. You've done incredibly well. We want you guys to collaborate. We want to keep the investment size very small. There are various investment caps, even under $1 million, even let's say $200,000, so that your fear you want to mitigate risk so that the fear factor is a bit small, so that you build a culture of having a business in another country. We have to be Pan-African in our thinking. Africa is big. I have a few friends who say, why are you doing business in Liberia, Sierra Leone? You are everywhere. I'm like, I'm not everywhere. I'm in Africa. Why would you say I'm everywhere? I'm in Africa. So it takes the intentionality. We have to enjoy our continent. Like I said, there are concepts in Ghana that are not in Kenya. There are concepts in Kenya that are not in Ghana. And we are the same people. Let's build brands that go beyond our country. Let's enjoy the continent.
We have ourselves, we have each other. So there is opportunity in networking and collaborations like we're doing here. You know, Barrister Eno said that we have human capital. These are building blocks. These are places where we have opportunity. There's opportunity in education. There's opportunity in language. So I think we're making progress, right? Yeah, so I'm going to go straight to the next question. There's a school of thought that says that our strength is also our weakness. You know, there's a school of thought that believes that there's no such thing as weakness. That what we call weakness is the negative application of our natural endowments. For example, obstinacy is a natural endowment. Okay? When it is positively applied, somebody says you are strong-willed. Okay? When it is negatively applied, somebody says you are stubborn. Okay? So our strength is our weakness. So I want you to help us. What areas of weakness in Africa have you noticed? Okay? What areas of weakness have you noticed that we can convert to strength? Do you understand? So I want us to just look at that a little bit. Anyone can pick up the mic and say something about that.
Well, I think I'll spread it this way. Hello? Hello? Okay, recording? Recording takes it off. Okay. So I think I really celebrate everything you said, and what I think is awesome. You know, it's only when we start making beliefs like that that will create the miracles that we need, right? I want to speak to the idea of Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
Because what I think it has become today is an attempt to preserve a lot of our primitive history and to jettison the possibilities in the 2000s or the 21st century just because they are not African. And so we should hold on to whatever it is that is African, whether it works for our future or not. Just because it's Africa. We see musicians, and I don't want to mention names, but who say that they are Pan-Africans, you know, and they don't want to have anything to do with Western, you know, ideas, and they don't want to practice democracy, they don't want to practice this and that. But they fly a plane to go give a speech and they don't want to do that. Yeah. And then you wonder that if you don't want to do that, you should have jobbed to the Europe that you are going to make that same speech. Right? They're going to sleep in hotels, they're going to eat chocolate. You know, they're going to do so many things that are in themselves not naturally African, but development of the human condition has served us with different experiences. Our ability to hold parallel universes in our head, our ability to embrace our duality, our diversity as human beings, right, has helped the world. You know, everybody says that China will take over the world. You know, everybody believes China will do that, except the Chinese man itself. Whether it's even trying to do that is a symposium discussion. Because when you look at China, China is dealing with some form of infinite pessimism and some form of low self-esteem, in my opinion. Because there is no nation that has taken over the world that did not do some basic soft power. For example, scale Islam. Make sure that the whole world I mean, we speak English today is the legacy of the British Empire. We spoke Greek is the legacy of the Greek Empire. We spoke Latin is the legacy of the Roman Empire. We have the legacy of the French Empire, right? We eat salad is the legacy of the Greek Empire. We eat pizza and spaghetti and macaroni. It's the legacy of the Roman Empire. We take tea, wear suits. It's the legacy of the British Empire. You find that superpowers must have the courage to spread their own culture across the world and their own beliefs, but the humility to receive everything the world has to offer in their own environment. So imagine that the United States is the most powerful economy in the world, but everybody is in America, including American enemies. There are Iranian Americans, there are Iraqi Americans, there are Afghan Americans, there are everybody, every nation that represents adversarial representation against the United States has a lot of their citizens in the United States. And America has, I don't know, some of them are there with good intention. America has to find a way to maintain that diversity as well as protect our own interests, right? By making sure that the nuisance value any of those people represent does not destroy the development and the growth and the peace of America, right? So you look at that, America offers green cards in nations where people have a commitment to kill America, right? So the way they thought, the assumptions they also there, transcended all of the negatives that they can also choose to embrace. And there are countries that will grow to really make a difference in the world, must also find within themselves the humility to embrace that diversity. So China is struggling with how to preserve Mandarin. A lot of his culture are within the Chinese space. They are not really trying to allow the world to come and pollute the culture that they own, and how they share the world with that of the world is a symposium discussion. Nigeria is doing better, in my opinion. Our food is scaling, our music is scaling, because at the end of the day, it comes down to those soft powers. Hollywood is more powerful in the world than the United States Army. You may not understand that, but Hollywood, everybody in the world, every young person in the world has picked their identity, their style from Hollywood. The average soldier from another country already has a low self-esteem dealing with the American soldier. Because from when he was a child, he has been watching Commando, Delta Force, and they told him that one American soldier can kill 300, so his bosses in training him, was first training him to believe that, don't believe that movie, right? They are going to invest money to manage his mind on how he sees the American soldier. Because Hollywood has done so well in printing the type of America into everybody's mind, and justifiably so. Everybody will have to do that, right? And then if you expand that and you think of Japan, what is Japan without Honda, Mitsubishi, Panasonic, Sony, and all the big brands that define Japan? Japan has successfully created ideas within Tokyo, branded in such a way that it can transfer purchasing power from all over the world and bring that value back to headquarters in Tokyo. What is Korea without Hyundai, without Samsung, LG, Kia? What is Germany without BMW, Opel, Mercedes, Heineken, Adidas, and all these brands? Everybody in this room will name a US brand, and will not exhaust that as well, right? So at the end of the day, nations have mastered the idea of building something of such intrinsic value, exporting it consumable in the world, right? And bringing all of that value back to headquarters in London or in Paris or in New York or in Tokyo, right? Or in Korea, or wherever that is. The problem with Pan-Africanism is we work against that, right? And I think what we should understand is that there are many things in Africa that will keep Africa small, except we destroy it. There are many things in Europe and in the West and Asia that will keep Africa small, except we reject it. But there are many things in Africa that will keep Africa great if we can preserve them. And there are so many things in the West
in America and Asia that if we reject them, it will keep us small. We have to embrace them. So the white man has done well, and I always articulate that because he has spread his ideas across the world by whatever means you call it, right? The African also, nothing stopped him from deciding to spread his own ideas in the world. So there's a food in the West where I come from in Nigeria called amala. Amala can be consumed by anybody anywhere in the world. We just need to brand it, package it, push it to the world, and it will be eaten. KK can be consumed by a Frenchman. It can be consumed. Nobody was born to eat pizza. We don't know the meaning of pizza. It's the way it was branded, sold to us, came to our reality, we consumed it, we didn't die, we enjoyed it. I mean, beer, a lot of what we call alcohol is bitter.
Yeah, true.
Part of why I could not drink alcohol and I consumed worse things. I mean, I've tasted everything from chewing to cocaine. But I couldn't drink alcohol because it wasn't just sweet. And I couldn't convince myself that I'm tasting something sweet. But everybody drinking beer, we have to give them that false acceptance. This is fantastic, right? So we can accept anything. It's the way it is presented, the way it is sold, right? So I want to challenge African entrepreneurs and innovators to begin to consider how ideas can move beyond the limits of the geography that originates from and rent a space in the heads of people across the globe and get them to begin to consume that and send purchasing powers our way. I think one of the biggest things I have learned in this, I have heard in this room today, and has given me so much hope, is what my brother has said. The commitment that we can go beyond our known experiences and challenge that by seeking value in other environments and geographies that transcend our own thinking. Somebody asked me in America, what are you doing in America? You know, why don't you stay in your country? I said, what is Bill Gates doing in Africa? Why did he stay in his own country? Yes. It's about the movement of ideas. We are done with relocation, we are penetrating. It's about the penetration of ideas. We are taking ideas from Lagos and we are considering how we can see those ideas in as many nations as possible and bring that purchasing power and its value represent back to our country. That is the way we have to think, and it's the greatest experience we can offer the world. African ideas created in Africa, branded for the world, penetrated into global cities, and superimposed into this environment for them to consume and send purchasing powers our way. That is the way we are going to change. That is the way France has grown, America has grown, every country in the world has grown. Brand ideas.
And I'll round up with a story. 2 salesmen were sent from the US to a very remote village here in Africa to sell shoes. And when they got here, the first man who landed in the village saw men without shoes and immediately called his company and said, please send back those containers. These people don't wear shoes. I don't think this mission is going to be possible because I can't sell shoes. These guys don't wear shoes. Another company had sent their own salesman to the same village. And when he landed and saw the whole village shoes, he called his company and said, please double those containers. These guys don't have shoes. Now 2 men in the same place, same time, same people, right? Same village, 2 different perceptions.
Perception.
Right? So that's very important. What do you see? Do you see the challenge or do you see the solutions? For us in this room, we are together here today because we see the solutions. We are change agents. In my Facebook page, I always write, I signed off with a hashtag, Change Agent 101. That's what I call myself. And I always say, let's change the narrative.
Thank you,
so
thank you so much, Barrister. So we have perception. Please, okay.
I would like to emphasize on character. Character is a very important component in trying to advance our economic fortune. I think like PK said, it won't be handed down to you. Nothing stops me from sending 50 emails to a certain important office about my intention or what I want to achieve. I don't know why, even as young people, we think they should be handed down to us. You find a young boy, he's chased a particular girl for 5 years, but 2 years in his business, he's chasing a dream, he thinks it's too much time. So we feel it should happen now, we feel the change should happen now, but it borders on character. Once you have a very strong conviction, you don't give up, the tenacity is there, you give a good account of yourself. A lot of time people have actually reached out to me and say, you seem to have quite a lot of traction. I said, I don't go anywhere. My character takes me where. Because when I'm given an assignment, I'm not worried about the fact that I'm a CEO. I'm very hands-on. I fold my sleeves, no ego, give a good account of myself. Even some of the least assignments I've had in the UAE is based on the character I've shown, because I feel like it's an opportunity for me to show myself. Because it's an opportunity where the assignment is small, and it gives me the leverage to be able to execute and execute well. But that execution sells something. Somebody who is result-oriented doesn't stop till the job is done. So I think as Africans, once we embrace this character conversation, to show that we really want this to happen, once we show that it builds confidence, it gives comfort, and then once these two key points are established, it translates into several things. Let's show that yes, we want Africa to develop. When investors come here and they give us assignments, let's show that yes, we are ready. Let the emails, government agencies be quick with their responses. Let's show that yes, we want this change that we're talking about to happen. So I would want to add, like I just said, character is very key in doing what we want to do. It's a new Africa. It should start with a bold character. The way we introduce ourselves to change, we should be very confident, and then we see the changes that we want.
Thank you.
Character conversation, in my view, should be followed by relationship and friendship. I think it's very key too. In this hall, we are representing our country from different places. If not because of this program, we may not have met the way we are meeting right now here. So let's build relationship. Let's exchange ideas. Let's talk to ourselves. Let's make friends. And let the conversation go even after here. We never can tell what will happen there.
Thank you. Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, let us make better use of our relationship. Let's make better use of our perception. Let's make better use of our character. And let's make better use of our ability to be tenacious. Thank you very much. I hope you have gleaned enough from this panel session. I want us with a standing ovation to celebrate our panelists. Come on, you can do better. Thank you.
Into this program, the New African, what can we do to experience this change? Where can we see this change? When can we experience? When will this change come? And why? So please, I want you to throw more light and explain how we can see this change and how can we experience this change.
Okay, Honorable Kaylin.
What I would want to add, I think if I get your question clear, is what change do we want to see? When do we want to see it? We want to see it now, today, in this room.
Yes.
I mean, I want to see that you step up to people, take their numbers, ask what they are doing, share what you are also doing, collaborate. For the last 6 months, I haven't had any meeting if it has nothing to do with collaboration. I'm hungry, I want to move fast, I want to achieve things. So every meeting that I'm having is about collaboration, what we can do together, how do we harness the potential that we both have, what I have, what do we have, when we come together, who can we go to together with the leverage that we have, what force do we imbibe to be able to meet a certain force elsewhere. So the change starts now. And once we start doing a mindset orientation, we should also be able to do monitoring and evaluation. Since our mindset changed, what has changed? If it's not changing, let's go back to the drawing board and assess what is affecting the lack of change, and then we'll be able to make progress. I think when it comes to change, it starts now, it starts with us, and this is what I want to add. If I don't know if I've answered your question, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, I think we're going to have another panel discussion, so I'm just going to end here.
In your speech, you said that you were particular about entrepreneurs, and like I was discussing with my friend here and our society at large. Well, we go back and like he said, people don't have a passion about changing the narratives. People don't have the mindset that, okay, like you talked about mentorship, people should get mentored. If I come to you to say, okay, mentor me on these aspects that I am doing, okay, maybe I work with local people to elevate them to a level of life, and I come to you that this is what I'm doing, how would you support me? How would you support the people in the downstream? And you say, okay, do this, and that's the end. So how do we implement and carry on with the lower people? We are like the middle class, the high class in this form. How do we carry the lower people along to also be people who will benefit from all that we have been discussing in this form? Thank you very much.
I hear you. So first of all, I didn't make a case for mentoring at all. What I said is that if you function in an evil system, your chance of gaining advantage in that system is not by avoiding the system, it's by manifesting your intelligence to such a level that evil finds it inspiring enough to defend it. In other words, I'm asking you to mentor evil as opposed to avoiding it. So that is the case that I made, right? And again, we don't need a bunch of keys to open a door. How many keys do we need? The one key. I don't belong to that school of thought that anybody should be helped in the way we talk about help, right? The idea that we have to help people rise, help people to, nobody did that for me, right? I spent 12 years in the university studying the 4 years. Nobody helped me, right? I've not enjoyed that kind of idea. So for me as a person, even though I have thousands of people across the globe that I offer mentoring, but no part of it was me saying, I want to mentor anybody. It is me being ready for anyone who is ready for change, right? I don't have energy for distraction. I'm not going to go and offer unsolicited help. I don't do it, right? I don't put myself out like that. You can't disrespect me, you can't waste my time, right? Because I don't put myself in such a position where you can just have my value available for your interests or your whims and fancies, or just to encourage your nuances, right? So I work very hard every day to put myself where I am, and I'm only committed to individuals, communities, groups, ideas that are willing themselves to go out of their way to create something. And this is what I say, the people who have not done anything, they will find mentors. It won't be me. I am focused on doers, people that are doing something. All of us cannot be available for everybody. So I don't position myself for people who have not yet, they can't even understand what I'm saying. The kind of things I say, the kind of solutions I bring, if I've met those people 20 years ago, I would have been able to help them. Because the things I was saying at that time can work for them. But the things I understand now, and the strength of my focus now, are for doers. So I'm focused on people already have more. So we are moving from 1 to infinity, not 0 to 1. Now, some other people must be responsible for 0 to 1. Don't get me wrong, but it won't be me. You see. So in Dallas, I run an incubator called Africa House. And what we do in Africa House is connecting innovators and entrepreneurs to investors. Connecting investors to innovators and entrepreneurs of African descent, right? But the bigger picture is helping them to understand the African promise and their stake in it. So, but understanding that it is the person that is well that can donate blood. So we are not just trying to help him to understand, we are helping him to take action by connecting his ideas to funding, right? But that is because that person himself has demonstrated measurable value, significant value that we can invest in. If he has not gotten there, he definitely needs help, but not ours. That's what I'm saying. So that's where I park, right? That's where I park. Again, I want to encourage everyone, to understand that, people will go out of their way to act like they really want to help you. But every human being you meet has his own agenda. And what you are looking for is not help, is alignment of agenda. There's nothing wrong in, somebody said, oh, are you not afraid of being used? There's nothing I can create in this world if people don't use me. I don't mind being used. It's misuse I avoid. So use me, I also was going to use you. So you have your agenda, I have mine. Once you can find alignment of agenda, I really don't care every other thing that you are about. I will never outgrow problems. You can't discount the weight of darkness. Darkness is a constant. We shine in spite of it. So that is how we have to think, right? But I know a lot of young people are out there waiting for somebody to give them handouts. I'm waiting for somebody to give them room. Nobody gives you what you deserve. You get what you negotiate, and what you negotiate intentionally. That is what we all have to do.